Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, which is SUKKAH Mem Dalet. We begin 7 lines from the top of the Amud. The Gemara begins with a kasha. Amli Abayi l'Rabba. Ma'ishna lulav. Why is it so that when it comes to lulav, the avdinan le shiv'a, we take lulav for 7 days, all throughout Sukkot. Zecher l'mikdash, we do it as a remembrance for what happened in the Mikdash, where they would shake lulav all throughout Sukkot. Usmachtem l'fnei Hashem l'kechem shivas yamim. Nowadays as well, this was a takana of Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai back on Daf Mem Aleph and Aleph. We make a takana that we take lulav all throughout the 7 days of Sukkot as a zeicher l'mikdash, to evoke the memory, generate yearning and desire for the building of the Beis HaMikdash. So that transpires all throughout Sukkot, all throughout the 7 days. That's by lulav. Umayshna arava. Why is it different than by arava? Taking of the aravas, there we don't apply it throughout all the days of Sukkot. It's limited to the 7th day only. Right? Nowadays we have a Shana Rabbah, the 7th day of Sukkot. We only make a very limited Zecher L'Mikdash. What happened to the rest of Sukkot? So why is it that when it comes to lulav, it applies all throughout? When it comes to arava, it's limited to the 7th day. Amalehi responded, you know why? Actually we do take the arava all throughout Sukkot. You have it in your lulav, and you're yaitse in that manner. Amalei, Abai responds, you're like, how could you be yaitse? It's part of the lulav. It's not meant as the arava for arava's sake. Amalei ahu mishum lulav huduka avidlei. It's being taken as part of the lulav arrangement. It's not nikar. It's not visible that it's for the arava. V'chitema, perhaps you'll say, duka magbalei. He'll lift the lulav once to be Mekayim Mitzvah's lulav, v'hadar magbale, and then lift it again for the sake of the arava, in which case he can be yaitse in that manner. Well, theoretically that's correct, but practically, who does that? Look around. On a daily basis, meaning we don't see that. Look around throughout Sukkot. Who does that? Nobody picks up that lulav once for lulav and once for arava. So there is no fulfillment of the mitzvah's arava. There's no zeicher l'mikdash except on the 7th day. And why is that so? Amar Rav Zvid Mishmei the Rav. I'll tell you why. There's a difference between the lulav, which is the iraisa, it's a mitzvah min al-Torah, and therefore it's considered a higher level mitzvah. Avdin on shiva zeicher l'mikdash, when it comes to applying the lulav throughout the Gvulin outside Eretz Yisrael, outside Yerushalayim, after the Churban Zeicher L'Mikdash, we apply it to all 7 days because lulav is minat Torah and deserves a significant, a long and uninterrupted Zeicher all throughout the mitzvah, the Yom Tov of Sukkot, as opposed to arava, which is only the Rabbanon. The entire concept of taking an arava on Sukkot is only with the Rabbanon. It doesn't deserve a 7 day zecher. 1 day suffices. Laman, 1 second. In accordance with whose shita are you offering this explanation? You're telling me arava is only the Rabbanon? Really? Ileim al Abba Shol. Are you following Abba Shol? Well, that doesn't work. Ha'amar, he said. The pasuk says you're meant to take arvei nachal, eloshin rabim. Or is that coming to include arvei nachal ksiv? Shtayim, 2 types of aravos, achas lelulav, achas lemikdash, 1 in the lulav and 1 in the mikdash, for the mitzvah of arava. So it's minat Torah, just as the lulav is. You can't say arava is only with the rabbanon. Ilu rabbanon, you follow shitas chachamim. Well, they learned the halacha of arava from halacha Moshe Sinai. Hilchas Gemira, the Amar Basi, Amar Yechanan. She quoted Rabbi Yehuda, who quoted Mishum Rabbi Nechunya, Ish Bikas Beis Charasan. Fellows, he came from this town Beis Charasan, and he said as follows. He gave us a list of 3 concepts which are derived from Halachah Moshe Sinai. They're actually not really related to each other, but so happens that they were presented together in the Beis HaMikdash at one time. Eser Natiyos, the 10 new saplings, this is a Shvius related halacha, number 1. Arava, they meant to take the Arava in the Beis HaMikdash. V'nisach hamayim, and pouring of the water on the Mizbeach during the Talmud Shel Shachar on Sukkos. All these halachas are halacha l'Moshe Sinai, so it's pretty clear that Arava is Minat Torah, it's halacha Moshe Sinai. It's either derived from Arvei Nachal or halacha Moshe Sinai. So you cannot say that the difference between lulav, which has a zeicher l'migdash all throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, is different than Arava because the lulav is Minat Torah and Arava is not, because Arava is Minat Torah as well. Ella Amar Zvid Mishmei Rava, rather, says Rav Zvid in the name of Rava, Rava must have meant something else. The difference between lulav and Arava is as follows. Lulav de isli ikar Minat Torah b'gvulim. Keep in mind that mitzvahs lulav applies in the Mikdash and outside the Mikdash as well. There's an ikar Minat Torah, which means there's a source, a shorish Minat Torah, that lulav is meant to be taken even b'gvulim. So lokachta mechem bayim harishon, as we learned yesterday, applies even outside the Mikdash. And since Minat Torah, the concept of lulav applies outside the Mikdash, avdinan shiva zeichel Mikdash, we extend it from only the first to all days beyond the first as well. Because of zeichel Mikdash, we sort of keep the mitzvah going. So since the first day is Minat Torah, we just continue all throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, zeichel Mikdash, as opposed to the Arava, the less ikar Minat Torah b'gvulim. Although the Torah requires the Arava to be taken in the Mikdash, but there's no ikar Minat Torah, there's no source to indicate that you meant to take Arava outside the Mikdash. So Minat Torah doesn't really apply outside the Mikdash. Lo yavdinon shiva zeichel Mikdash. So when it comes to establishing a zeichel Mikdash, 1 day suffices. So outside the Mikdash, you take it on the 7th day. Why dafka on the 7th day? Some Farshim say because, as we learned yesterday, it's the 7th day, which is Doiches Shabbos. Right? The 7th day of Arava, which falls out on Shabbos, you take it even on Shabbos. So that's a more chashav day. Or as we want to see in Daf Mem Hey, we find that even in the Mikdash, they would actually do an enhanced Arava ceremony on the 7th day. They would go around 7 times. So that appears to be a more chashav day, and therefore that is the day that is meant to be done even outside the Mikdash as a zeichel Mikdash. Amr Rish Lakish, on the topic of Arava, says Rish Lakish, Kohanim bale mumen, even Kohanim that have a mum who are unfit to do avodah, nichnasen bein ulam v'la mizbeach. They enter the area between the ulam, which was the antechamber from the heichal, and the mizbeach. So that space was generally not accessed by kohanim bali mumen, but when it comes to fulfilling mitzvahs Arava, which required the kohanim, all those kohanim present, to take Aravas and walk around the mizbeach and then put it around the mizbeach in place. So at that point we say kohanim bali mumen have the allowance to enter that area, k'dei lotis ba'Arava, to do the mitzvah Arava. That's Rish Lakish's chiddush. Only Rabbi Yehuda challenges him. Mi Amra. Whoever said that this is required? Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Mi Amra? How you Amar? Rabbi Yehuda himself certainly concurs with this concept that Arava is a mitzvah meant to be done in the Mikdash. Rabbi Yehuda himself said so. Damar Rabbi Asi, Rabbi Yehuda. Mishum Rabbi Chunya ish kva bikas beis charasan. Right, like we said earlier, Esenatiyos, Arava, v'nisach hamayim, halacha Moshe Sinai. So why is he challenging Rish Lakish? He also presented Arava as something that's meant to be done. Ela mi amra benetila. What Rabbi Yehuda meant was, who says he meant to take the Arava, shake him, and walk around holding them, which perhaps would require every kohen present to do so, even the Bali woman, and would justify the entry of Bali woman into that area. Dima Biskiva, perhaps simply meant to take the Arabas and plant them around the Mizbeach, position them in place around the Mizbeach. Explains Tosfos, since it's an object-oriented obligation, the Arava has to be placed in that position, so perhaps one person could do it on behalf of all. It's not a personal obligation, it's not a gavra, it's not a personal chiyuv that every kohen would have to do. Biskifa, just put it around the Mizbeach And one person will do it on behalf of all, and therefore wouldn't justify the entry of the Bali Mumin into that restricted area. That's number one. Number two, even if you shall say that it's a gavra chiv, it's a personal chiv, every kohen present has to do that. Every kohen has to take the arava and walk around. Mi amr be Bali Mumin. Who's to say that even Bali Mumin who aren't fit to do avoid are meant to do that? Dilma b'tmim, maybe only the unblemished kohanim are meant to participate. Explains Taisus. Perhaps only the kohanim who are meant to take part in the avodah of the mikdash are meant to participate in this ceremony as well. But it doesn't apply to kohanim who are exempted from avodah, such as Bali Mumin. Itma we learned. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Levi. There was a machlekes between these two Amirayim regarding the essence of the mitzvah of arava. Chad Omar, one of them maintained that arava, taking of the arava outside the mikdash, was yisoid neviim, was established by the neviim, which means it was like a mitzvah, which requires a bracha. V'chad Omar arava minig neviim. The other one maintained that it doesn't really have that status. It's only a minig, which was introduced by the neviim. Now, what exactly are they arguing about? Perhaps let's go over to the Rashi here. It's exactly in the middle of the Amid. You'll notice the word Yisoid. Yisoid Nevi'im. Takonos Nevi'im Achroinim. It was established as a takona by the later Nevi'im. Chagi Zechayim Malachi. Shoyim Mitakni Takonis Yisrael B'Asher Knesset Agdol. They were part of the Asher Knesset Agdol. They were Misakin Takonis. That's one approach. The other one said it wasn't a takana, it was a minig. And he goes, they got the Klal Yisrael accustomed to doing this. It wasn't a takana, it wasn't like a mitzvah. V'nafkamina, what's the difference? Lo yabai bracha. You don't make a bracha by a minig. Why? The lekal lemema v'tzivanu. It's a problem because you can't say Asher K'chanom, it says v'tzivanu. Dafilu b'chlal lo yisosar lesa. Rashi makes reference to the Gemara. The Gemara wants to know, how do we say Asher K'chanom b'mitzvahs of v'tzivanu? We tell Hashem, you've commanded us to light Chanukah licht, to read Megillah, not the Torah Shebechsav. How can we say v'tzivanu? The Gemara answers because in the Torah Shebechsav we have a pasuk which says Lo yisasir min hadavar. Hashem tells us, don't stray from the davar, the instructions, which were set forth by the Chachamim, meaning you meant to keep to the halachos d'Rabbanan as well. So when we keep a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, in essence, we are really mekayim a mitzvah min haTorah, so to speak, of lo yisasir. And that's why the bracha, the nusach, the text works. Asher K'chanom mitzvahs v'tzivanu, because you have instructed us to follow the instructions given by the Chachamim. But when it comes to a minhag, says Rashi, it's not on the same level. You can't even say v'tzivanu because it's not a commandment, it's not an established requirement. It's more of a minhag, and therefore a bracha is not applied. Continues the Gemara. So we have a shaila: is it a yisoid neviim, an established takana, or is it merely a minhag? Testaim de Rabbi Yehuda Amar yisoid neviim. Perhaps we can conclude with clarity that it was Rabbi Yehuda who said that it's a yisoid neviim. The Amar Ravo. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Arav yisoid neviim. He clearly says so. This time, indeed, this is the real conclusion. Amar Rabbi Zera Ravo. I don't understand. Me Amar Rabbi Yehuda Hachi. Is that so? That according to Rabbi Yehuda, taking of the arava was established by the Nevi'im? V'amar Rabbi Yehuda. Didn't Rabbi Yehuda tell us? It's the third time we have it on today's Amud. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda, Mishar Rabbi Chunya, Ish Bikas Beis Chorasan. Esenatiyas, those three items are Esenatiyas, Arava, and Isachamayim. All three were Halacha Meshim Sinai. It wasn't established by the Nevi'im, V'im Achroinim, Chagei, Zechayim, Malachi, at the beginning of Ba'isheni. It was Halacha Meshim Sinai. Ishtoimim Kisha'achad. Ravo was stumped. He was bewildered for a short moment, speechless. He didn't have an answer. Here we see that Rabbi Yechanan holds that it was a Yisod Nevi'im, established by the Nevi'im, whereas elsewhere he said it was Halacha Meshim Sinai. So he was stumped, but then he regained his bearings, and he said, Va'amar, you know what? Initially, it was halacha mishmisina, but shachacham, Klal Yisrael forgot this halacha, as they forgot many other halachas during the time of Galus, due to the tumultuous situation, and things were forgotten. Learning was interrupted, and there was shikha. V'chazru v'yistam. And these Nevi'im came back and re-established this halacha. So initially it was halacha mishmisina, then it was forgotten and reintroduced by the Nevi'im, Rashi says, al pia dibur, by way of nevuah. The Chiddush that you can introduce halachas by way of nevuah, although the Torah says, Lev Hashemayim, you're not meant to learn halachas through nevuah. Parshim say here it was already an established halacha, it was just forgotten, so it was refreshed aydei nevuah. So both are true. It was initially halacha mishmisina, but then reintroduced by the Navi. Umi Omar Rabbi Yehuda, is that so that Rabbi Yehuda maintains that some things were forgotten in Bavel? Omar Rabbi Yehuda, did Rabbi Yehuda himself say, D'Lchain, initially I figured it was yours. He was addressing his Talmidim in Eretz Yisrael. I figured Torah was your domain. You remained in Eretz Yisrael, you never went to Galus. You retained clarity and full command of the entire Torah. Initially, that's what I figured. Amri, but then I reverted. I realized, Dilhoinhi. Torah is truly the domain of the Bnei Bavel, although they went into Galus, but they had held on to the Torah properly. They had true clarity. As we're going to see in Rashi. In any case, Rabbi Yehuda maintained that the Bnei Bavel never forgot anything. So how can we say it was forgotten and reintroduced? Before we continue, let's go over to Rashi. So basically continue where we left off, which is 23 lines from the bottom. Umi Rabbi Yehuda, Yisoid Nevi'im. How could Rabbi Yehuda say it was established by the Nevi'im? V'halacha mishmei Sinai. It was learned through halacha mishmei Sinai. Says the Gemara, you're right. Initially it was halacha mishmei Sinai, but then shachachum begolus Bavel. Shach was HaTorah v'Mitzvahs. Miktzas, they forgot some specifics in Bavel. V'zu nishachalo gamre, and this was completely forgotten. V'chazru Nevi'im achroinim. And Chagai, Zechariah Malachi came back and re-established V'yistum al piyadib. Says the Gemara, they forgot Torah in Bavel? That doesn't sound right. V'amar b'yechon d'lchoin amri d'lhoni. So what was this referring to? It says Rashi, Rav Kahana hoya mitalmidei Rav. Rav Kahana was one of the Talmidim of Rav in Bavel. V'yucharav moed, was sharp. Ubarach le'etz Yisrael f'nei Rabbi Yehuda. He escaped from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, came to Rabbi Yehuda, Machas merad neshar golem echad. He inadvertently killed somebody, and he was being pursued by the authorities. He had to escape to Eretz Yisrael. Tamrinan, perak basar bava kam. Okay, v'hutzrach Rabbi Yehuda kam esfeikas. Rabbi Yehuda benefited from him. He clarified some uncertainties, and he was very impressed with Rav Kahana, who came from Bavel. Rav Kahana's Torah, and this afforded him new perspective on the Torah of Bavel. Rabbi Yehuda Be'etz Yisrael. I'm very impressed with them. Savar Yisi Shator Shalachem. I figured the Torah was yours. Shaloi Gelisim Artzachem. You never left your land. V'lo Yehoy Lachem Tiraf Hadas. You weren't traveling. You had no Tiraf Hadas. Aval Reisi Shishal Bnei Bavel. But now I see that the Bnei Bavel have true understanding and clarity. Even though they went to Galus, but the Chachma, which was taught to them by the Cheresh VaMasker, Shegolom Yechanya, this is a group of Chachamim, Cheresh VaMasker, describing their high level of Torah. They came together with Yechanya to Bavel. Kedechsiv, as it says, Hakoil Gibayrim Oisim Mochama. They were mighty ones, warriors. V'tani b'seder Oilam v'chima Gvura Oisim Bnei Adam HaNesunim Shal Shaloi Shal Barzel. What type of Gevura is expressed by people that are chained. Ela shegibarim ha'yiv mechamta shal Torah was speaking about great Talmidei Chacham, although they were taken in chains to Bavel, but they were great in their scholarship and their Torah. And they went to Bavel and they established yeshivas, they established proper learning, and ensured the true maintenance of the Torah and the tradition and clarity. Alma svir Rabbi Yehuda l'nishtaka Torah b'golos Bavel. It's pretty clear Rabbi Yehuda agreed that the Golos Bavel didn't really interfere or interrupt with their learning, and they still maintained their clarity, their absolute command of Torah. So how can we say that when it comes to Arava they forgot? The the mitzvah of arava in Bavel. It was reintroduced there. It's a show by the Nevi'im. Continues the Gemara on the last word of the Amud. Loikasha, the answer is, let's go back a second. We had a discussion as to the source, as to the essence of mitzvah arava. Is it Yisoid Nevi'im? Is it Halacha Moshe Sinai? So we said, they forgot, they reintroduced. Forget about that. No forgetting. The answer is very simple. Depends on your location. Kam b'migdash, kam b'gvulim. The arava in the Beis HaMikdash is based on Halacha Moshe Sinai. B'gvulim, outside the Mikdash, there's no Halacha Moshe Sinai. That was introduced by the Nevi'im. Straightforward, easy. Let's go to Rashi on top. B'migdash, Halacha Moshe Sinai. B'gvulim, Yisoid Nevi'im. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav Ami, arava tzricha shir. This is a minimum requirement when it comes to arava. You can't just have a small, teeny mashu. It has to have a shir, which the Gemara soon will tell us. Ve'enu netelas el b'fnei atzma. The arava has to be separate. It can't be tied together with something else. It has to be visibly l'shem mitzvah. L'shem mitzvah arava. Number 3. You can't be yoytze mitzvah arava using the arava in the lulav. So 3 things. It needs a shear, has to be alone, and you can't use the arava in the lulav. Says the Gemara, why this redundancy? Given the Amar Mai, once you've told me that Einan Netelas Elofnei Atzma, the arava has to be separate, in order for it to be nikar, as she says, muchach, that it's a mitzvah. Once you know that pshita, of course, the Einadam yoytze ba'arava shebelulav, it can't be yoytze with the arava in the lulav, which is part of the lulav arrangement. So why the redundancy? Ma'od says, well, perhaps I would say, you know what? When do we say that the arava has to be b'fnei atzma, so that it's clearly being done l'shem arava? That's only when you're going to pick up his lulav with arava in it, and I'll do it once, in which case it doesn't appear like he's doing anything for the arava. He's doing mitzvah's lulav. But in the case where his agbe picks it up once for lulav's sake, v'hadar agbe picks it up again for arava's sake, perhaps that would work. Right? Aval agbe, but if he picks it up once for the lulav, v'hadar agbe picks it up again for the arava, perhaps that's different. The point is, it has to be muchach. You have to see him taking an arava. Okay, who says it has to be untied, separate? Perhaps even in the lulav can work if you see he's doing it l'shem arava. If he picks it up twice, once for lulav, once for arava, kamashmon, the chiddush is no. That's not enough. The fact that he's doing another mas l'shem arava, that's not sufficient. You have to have it in the item itself. It has to be a arava which is specifically designated for arava use, as opposed to something which is part of the lulav bundle. So that's Rav Ami's shita. Rav Chizdam Rabbi Yitzchak, no. Adam yaitzi dechevasei b'arava shebelulav. Certainly you can use the arava in the lulav, provided you do a double take. You pick it up once for a lulav, and once again for the arava. As long as you made that personal demonstration, you've indicated that you're doing l'shem arava, that's enough. Now let's go back to the shir. V'kama shiura, what's the minimum shir for the arava? Amar Nachman Gimel Bade Alan Nachan. You have to have 3 separate stalks. Body of the stalks. Alan Lachen, which feature fresh leaves on them. Now the Ram explains why the number 3. He says it should be nikar, that it's for the sake of arava, because you already have 2 in your lulav, so you want to show that it's something different. You have to take 3. That's Rav Nachman. Rav Sheshes Sama, you don't need 3. Afilu ola echad, even 1 leaf, ubad echad, with another stalk next to it. Says the Gemara, ola echad ubad echad sakadaydach. Can you say a detached leaf with a stalk? What good is a detached leaf? You don't see much there. As she says, it's leif minkar. It's not something which is visible. It's not something which is seen. It doesn't have chashivas. Ela ema, rather what he meant to say is afilu ola echad bibad echad. Even if it's 1 bad, 1 stalk, with 1 leaf attached, that's enough. In any case, you don't need 3. 1 is enough. Okay, before we continue, let's summarize the sugya of arava. So we learned that the arava is something which is meant to be taken on its own, in a way where it's visibly done l'shem harava. How many? We have a sheet of 3, a sheet of 1. In the Mikdash, it was taken all throughout the 7 days of Sukkot. It's Minat Torah. Either Arvei Nachal, which is Lashon Rabbim, is coming to include the Arava and the Mikdash, or Lachmash Sinai is the source of this halach. Outside the Mikdash, but Medina, is only taken 1 day. And over here, it was not Minat Torah. It was either Yisoid Nevi'im, established by the Nevi'im, which requires a bracha, or it was only a Minig Nevi'im, in which case no bracha is required. Continues the Gemara. Amar Aivu. Aivu was Rav's father. Hava ka'imna kameid Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Tzadok. I was standing in front of Rabbi Lezer. Va'ayis Gavra. This fellow came, and he brought an arava. Kamei. He presented Rabbi Lezer with an arava. Shakel, chavet, v'lei baruch. He took the arava. Chavet, going to Rashi, means he shook it. Ne'anua, going to the Rama, means thrashing it on the floor or kli. So he handled that arava. V'lei baruch, without a bracha. Because he held minag nevi'im, it's only a minag, which doesn't require a bracha. Aivu, v'chizkia, these two, who were bnei barate de Rav, the grandchildren of Rav, the sons of his daughter. So this Aivu was actually a great-grandson of the other Aivu, who was Rav's father. So they were standing in front of Rav. And they brought Aisu Arava Kamed Rav. They delivered Arava to Rav. Chavet v'lei baruch. He shook without a bracha, kasavar, because he held a minhag nevi'im. It's only a minhag. On the topic of Aivu, with Rabbi Lezer Tzadok, says the Gemara another story. Amar Aivu. Hava ka'imna Kamed Rabbi Lezer Tzadok. I was standing in front of Rabbi Lezer. Osla Kameo Gavra, this fellow approached him with a shaila. He said, "Look, I'm a landowner. Amalei Kiryasa Isli. I have these villages. Kirmai Isli. I have vineyards. Zesai Isli. I have olive trees, olive trees. Va'asu b'nei Kiryasa. And the villagers, who are my laborers, they come and they work for me. Makashkishin b'karmai. And they turn over the soil in the vineyards. Va'ichlin b'zesai. And they consume the olives as wages. That's their pay. And it's actually shmita. And they're taking the olives as pay. Orich, is this a proper way to conduct myself? Or loy orich, or is it improper? Amalei Rabbi Lezer Tzadok responded, loy orich. It's improper. Rashi explains, because you're paying their wages with Perush Shvius. That's chayra. Torah says that the Perush Shvius ala achla, strictly for consumption, not to engage in commerce, not meant to be used to pay salaries. So that was the psak. This fellow heard. He says, "Okay, let me go. Have a kashavik lebasel." Immediately he left. He took off. He went to tell his workers to stop having those zaysim as pay. In the meantime, Rabbi Lezer Tzadok turned to the fellow standing around him and he said, "Amar, I'm very impressed with the integrity of this fellow. Kadu havesi dairi ba'ara hada. Look, I've been living in this land, in this place for memishnin for 40 years. I'm impressed with this fellow. V'loy chamesi bar inish. I've yet to see another person, mahalech ba'orchan de taknon, who walks on a path of integrity, kedain like this fellow. This fellow is erlich, a man of integrity." Perhaps he was telling him, look, he wasn't just leaving because he didn't like my response. He went to straighten things out right away. He heard it was usher. He went right away to correct it. So he went to tell his workers to stop using the olives as pay. And then he came back. Hadar Asi came back to ask him, well, what should I do? V'amarle my mavid, what should I do? Amarle, so Rabbi Lezer tells him, Afkar Zeisaya, give up the ownership on your Zeis, meaning have everybody eat those olives, give access to all. After to the dark ones, meaning the aniyim, have the poor people access your olive trees. And use your own prutas, your own funds, to pay the kashkushe kram and those fellows who are working for you, turning over your soil in your kerem, pay them the salary out of your pocket. Okay? Says more of a kashkushe mishari. How could you actually do this on Shemitah? Turn over the soil? Vatanya, Brisa says, Vashmiyas tishmeteno natashta. On Shmis, you meant to abandon your field, leave it fallow. We learn from these words, Tishmitenem lekashkish. You have to abstain from turning over the soil. Unetashtem lesak. You have to stop clearing the land from its stones, which in essence prepares it for planting. So even this type of activity is asar shmita. How can they do that? Amar Rav Ukir Brachama Trei kishkushi have. You meant to know that there are two types of kishkushi. Chad stume pili. One is merely to cover up the holes, to be soisen the pili, the cracks which developed over the roots of the trees. So once they become exposed, you have to cover them to avoid loss, and that's mutar and shmita, to be moinei hefsid. So this type of turning over of soil is mutar. V'chad avruyi lani. The other one is avruyi lani, according to one pshat and Rashi, lahavri, to strengthen the tree. So they'd overturn the soil to strengthen the tree, and that's asr. Avruyi ilani is asr. Benefiting, something that benefits the tree is asr. Stumi pila shayv, just to cover up the holes is mutar. And apparently, they were engaged in this type of kishkush. Another memory from the same Amar Aibu, Mishum Blezer Tzadik. Halach Adam Ba'arba Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, one must be careful not to travel more. Yoiser Megimel Parso. It's more than 3 parsa. Parsa is 4 mil. So 3 parsa, about 12 miles. One Pesachim says that a person would typically travel 10 parsa a day. So 3 parsas is about a third of a day's worth of traveling. So in today's terms would be a third of a day's travel, about 3-4 hours of travel, not more than that. Why? Because one should allow himself some time to prepare properly for Shabbos. This concern only applies when he's on his way home. Make sure to get home in time to prepare enough food for Shabbos. But if he's heading to the hotel, in which case he's carrying his food along with him in any case, he's relying on the food that he has with him in any case. There's no concern about arriving late. There's another version of this halacha, which is machmer. This halacha applies even when he's heading home. Certainly when he's going to a hotel where he doesn't know what's going on, if there's going to be adequate supply of food there, he should make sure to come in time to make sure everything's okay. But certainly even when he comes home, where he knows what he has, everything's accessible to him, even there, perhaps he won't find what he needs. Make sure to come in time to leave yourself ample time to prepare properly. Omar of Kahana, in fact, b'diavu uvda, I have personal first-hand experience that for some reason I got delayed and I came home at the last minute, I found nothing. I couldn't even find a kasa daharsana dish. Dagim ketanim, Rashi says, which are fried in oil and shuman and fat and flour, some minimum Shabbos food I couldn't find for myself. So this is teaches us a lesson to come in advance to prepare properly. There's a story related by Ripsik Zilberstein in the Sefer Baruch Nafshi. This fellow that came over to the U.S. for medical reasons. He had a daughter that wasn't unwell, so he had to go to a hospital near Monsey. Came with his whole family from Eretz Yisrael. He was a Brooklyn native. He was living in Eretz Yisrael, so he came for this medical purpose, and they figured it was going to be in and out. They got back to Eretz Yisrael, so they brought all their kids along. They figured it would be a short trip. It turns out that the tests revealed something serious, and they were told they have to remain in the U.S. for about 6 months. And they were beside themselves. What are we going to do with all their kids out of school? In any case, they were going to go to his parents for Shabbos. It was midwinter. His parents lived in Brooklyn and Flatbush, so he was a responsible fellow. They were expecting a snowstorm. He headed out of Monsey really early in the morning. It's a Friday morning down the road. Lo and behold, snow's coming down, gushes, and traffic snarl, and nowhere to go. They're inching forward through Palisades into Manhattan, and they see it's getting late. Sun's about to set. There's nowhere to go. They have to quickly figure something out. And they were in the Lower East Side area. They pulled in there. He knew the area, so he pulled over to the yeshiva there, and he found the The Sham is setting up for Shabbos. He told him, look, I have my family in the car, last minute, we're stuck. He says, sure, come to my house. He invited them in, set them up, had a beautiful Shabbos, a Suda, it's a good time. And this fellow used to go over to Rav Moshe Feinstein's house for a mincha, Shalashudis and Ma'ariv. He was really older and he used to stay home. So he had a minyan at home. And this guest went along with him, had mincha, Shalashudis. And then he had an idea. He says, I have an unwell daughter. Perhaps I can bring her over to Rav Moshe for a bracha. This was already in his last years, really older, and he wasn't really leaving the home. So he asked the grandson, he got him Rishus, he says, if you come right away after Abdullah, we get a bracha. So he quickly rushed home, got his daughter, came to Rav Moshe. Moshe was already lying in bed. They walked over to Rosh Shiva, told him the situation, and he gave a heartfelt bracha for Shalem to this girl. Fine. Went back home. And Monday morning, they went back to the hospital for another test. Lo and behold, the doctors were astounded. It's gone. Condition is totally gone. You're free to go back home, go to Eretz Yisrael, enjoy. And I couldn't believe it. Because of a snowstorm, he was held up in Manhattan. Last thing he wanted, last thing he expected. He ended up in this fellow's house. He took him to Rav Moshe Feinstein, gave him a bracha. His daughter was completely healed. He went back to Eretz Yisrael, life back to normal. And there's a postscript to the story that while they were spending Shabbos, so the host was mentioning to him that he has a nephew, an older bach, looking for a shidduch. And when this fellow went back to Eretz Yisrael, he had an idea. He had a niece, which was older, also looking for a shidduch. And a couple of weeks later, there was a shidduch. There was a mazel tov. Another side benefit from this unexpected Shabbos together. But in any case, typically, you meant to make sure you end up at your destination in time. Continues to go on Mitzvahs Lulav Ketzat. The Mishnah discussed the fact that they used to deliver the lulav to the Har Bayis in advance of Shabbos and set it up on the Itztaba. Itztaba is a platform. Remember we had back on the Abdallah and Manaf, this platform used to raise the ground, the floor of the sukkah. So Itztaba is a platform. In this case, some type of benches which were covered up, which were not covered, they were sheltered. There was some roof above it. That was used for gathering, for congregating on the Har Bayis. So the chazan of the attendants set up the lulavim. Tani Tana, Kamei Rav Nachman. There was a chacham who presented the following version of the Mishnah to Rav Nachman: Seidrin al gag ha'itztaba. They would set the lulavim on the roof, meaning on top of the roof, which was over the itztaba, over the benches. Amalei, Rav Nachman responds, what is he trying to drive to the lulavim? What's the point of putting them outside? El Eim al Gava Itzva. Rather, the correct version is al Gava Itzva, on top of the Itzva itself, the benches itself, underneath the roof, where they were protected from sun and the likes. Amar Chava, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Har Bayis, Stav Kafel Hay. On the Har Bayis, you had a double stav. Stav is referring to these benches, these platforms. It was a double arrangement. Stav, the name is stav. We had a circle of benches within another circle. It was a double arrangement. That's how the Har Bayis was designed, and on those stavs, on those itztavas, they would set up the lovim in advance of Sukkot. Okay, some summation. We began with the fact that lulav would be taken all throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, even outside the Mikdash. Zeicher Mikdash. The reason is because the concept of lulav applies even outside the Mikdash, minat Torah. So just continue on and take it throughout all 7 days, Zeichel and Mikdash, as a remembrance for what happened in the Beis HaMikdash, where indeed the mitzvah minat Torah was to have lulav all throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, as opposed to a Rava, where we find this difference between lulav, which was a 7-day Zeichel and Mikdash, and a Rava where we only do it 1 day, Zeichel and Mikdash, on the 7th day. Why is that? Because there is no din minat Torah to do a Rava at all outside the Mikdash. So 1 day suffices. Rish Lakish tells us a chiddush that even Kayhanim Balei Mumin would be makif the Mizbeach. He held that it's a personal chiyuv and comment on any person, any Kayan present. Rabbi Yechon responds by saying, who's to say that it's a personal chiyuv? Perhaps one person could just position the Aravas around the Mizbeach. Number two, perhaps only Kayhanim, which are roi for avoid as opposed to Baal Mum. We learned that the Arava in the Mikdash was indeed minat Torah. Either Arvei Nachal teaches us that there's Aravas in the Mikdash, or Halachah Meshim Sinai. As opposed to Arava outside the Mikdash, that was not Minat Torah. It was either Yesoid Nevi'im, which means a Takana, which requires a bracha, or merely Minag Nevi'im, which does not require a bracha. Arava needs to have a shear, according to one shita, it needs to have at least one with some leaves, and according to the other shita, you need to have 3 of them. The arava has to be separate from the lulav. Now, regarding lifting the lulav bundle with the aravas within it, once for the sake of lulav and once for the sake of arava, we have machlekes. You know, to use pay your shvius, to pay your wages. Regarding kishkushi, turning over the soil, well, it depends. If it's trying to prevent hefsed, that's mutter. To enhance the tree's growth, that's asur on shmita. On Erev Shabbos, we must be careful to arrive at his destination with plenty of time for preparations. And according to the Maskana of the Gemara, we have like this. When going home, it certainly applies. Lebese, it certainly applies. Regarding going to a shpiza where you're still carrying some food with you and not really relying on the supply at the destination, we have a machlekes. According to one shita, it's not a concern. According to the other shita, certainly in that case, we don't know what to expect. We meant to make sure to come there in time. Haslacha rabati and kol tov.